Welcome back to the Jasil and Alex podcast. We are recording today, so you're going to hear this podcast today.
Because I swore there was one more recorded, and Alex gets back and he's like, "No, there's not. It was the last two." And I was like, "Oh no, we have to record a podcast then today on Monday."
So the kids are outside doing kid things, and we're taking roughly 30 to 40, 50 minutes, I don't know, to have a podcast. What do you want to talk about today?
You know what I want to talk about
All right,
today.
tell me.
I don't have to tell you. You tell me.
So if you follow us, you know that I attended a speaking academy this past week in Miami, Florida, and it was a pretty big investment, which is great. But I've had this on my vision board for a long time. Well, when we created the vision board back in 2019 is when we were in Virginia, Norfolk, Virginia, and we had like a shared vision board. She had some things on there, I had some things on there, and I had this path on my vision board. So long story short, we saw this opportunity come a few weeks ago that this was a possibility, and I applied, and last week was just absolutely amazing.
Yeah. So we've been followers and members of Mind Valley community for a long time now, and we really love almost everything they put out, their programs and things like that. And we've been talking for a few years about wanting to go to Mind Valley University. I remember the first time we had the conversation when we were in the RV, and we kind of put it off because it's an expensive trip
Big
just to
to Yeah.
yeah, it's just to get to. It's usually in Europe, and having to buy flights for a family of 6 at the time, plus all the tickets to just attend the event. Usually they let you buy a week at a time, and in the past it's been up to a month, but now it's down to 2 weeks. But at that time I think it was like still 3 weeks. So we were like, man, how are we gonna make this happen? But anyhow, the point is it's been circulating. And then again, earlier this year, we revisited this conversation, and I told Alex, I was like, it would be really fun, really cool. I think if we go to Europe to attend this, and then also plan to like go back to Naples, Italy for Liam's birthday, because that's where we had celebrated his first birthday. And recently, I mean, after I started looking into it, it was the first time I found out that they're actually opening applications for speakers. So I told Alex, because he's getting into this realm. He's like, "This is what I want to do." I was like, "Oh my gosh, what a great opportunity! Why don't you apply? Like, if you apply and you get in, like, we're going. We'll make it happen. We'll figure it out. We'll get there." But nothing came of it. And at the end of the day, we were going to need at least like 20 grand to get our family over there. And I was like, you know what? Maybe right now is not the time for this.
And we said this. We actually talked about this on a podcast in season 2, where we talked about that as a family we were reorganizing, where we were all going to find a way to make some money to contribute to this family trip because we all wanted to go on it. And obviously, with things happening the way they had, Liam, it's still pretty recent that Liam passed away, and going through our own processing and things of that nature, it just wasn't going to be able to be done this year when it happened in August.
Yeah, like after April, I basically like my creative flow, everything just like shut down, and I feel like I went into hibernation mode. So I was like, you know what, I'm not pushing this. Like, if it doesn't happen, that's okay. What's meant to be is meant to be. So now 3 weeks ago, I get the emails from Mind Valley, and I see that they're advertising the Speaker Nation, and we already knew a little bit about Eric. I mean, I don't know about others. I knew a little bit of like his work and what he did. And when I saw it, they had a seminar like a webinar that they were gonna basically promote their program and talk about what this week was gonna be all about. So I signed up for it and I watched it. And before it finished, I texted Alex and I was like, "How are we gonna get you there?"
Mhm.
Because I just watching the whole thing, I was like, we need to get Alex there. Like he has to get there. And in the past, and I told him this, if you sit down and you do the logical thinking, the reasonable thing, the thing that most adults do, I said we should have never sent him on the trip. He should have never gone because financially it was not something that we were accounting for. And in a sense, we were taking a big chance and a risk of doing all this to end up essentially with an experience at the end of the week. And that's about it. But because we don't think that way, that's not how we saw it. That's not how we put it out on, into the universe. After we finished the webinar, I came into his office and I was like, let's game plan this. Like, we're gonna make this happen. Not sure why. But I was like, all I know is that 80% of the work is internal and energetic, and there's only 20% of actually having to take action and do it. So I was like, the first thing is mindset. I was like, we cannot see this as something that you're going to go and, you might win. I'm like, no, you're going and you are winning and you will be top 5 speakers. Like, I spoke that right away.
Yeah.
I said that immediately. And, as we're talking about it, he's like, well, if, and I was like, no, no, there's no ifs. When? I was like, this is a when. I was like, it's already happened. It's in our future. We just haven't reached it yet, but it's done.
And here's the thing. We have a podcast that we recorded that we're not going to release to the public yet. Yet. And this is a live conversation. This was a real-time conversation that we were having. It was right after the webinar, and we'll share it for a future date. The thing is, I had attended Eric Edmead's webinar on impact dynamics. He was doing a webinar on learning how you're influencing the world. And so he had talked about someone on the webinar had mentioned the speaking academy and that they were going. And he said, well, I didn't even have to set that up for you all to be able to know about it. Someone just threw it there. And when I dove into the speaking academy and I listened to what he was saying, and then the person that had went in a previous year, and then someone that was going this year, I was like, man, I got to look into this. And I looked into it that day, and I saw the price, and I was like,
So it was $15,000 to go to this 1 week academy.
And I was like, like it hit me pretty good. And so I just sat with it like that day. And then the next day, the Mind Valley, they were doing the speaking academy because Mind Valley sponsored this program. And that's where Jasil and I, again, we were on that webinar. And that's when, like she was just saying, she's like, we got to make it happen.
Yeah. So then I come in here and basically we say, we don't know how, but we're just going to make it happen. And like, yeah, we have investments and stuff where we have money set aside, but we had agreed in the past that we don't want to touch those things. So we're sitting here like, okay, well, how do we come up with this money in 3 weeks without touching what we have, without, having to liquidate anything? Like, how do we do this? And, it's not a secret. We spoke about it in one of the podcasts in this season, how, we are in a place where we feel very complacent, but it's not where we want to be. And we were trying to create extra income and cash flow. Like Alex was applying to some jobs online to do speaker, gigs, podcasting, posts, things like that. So like we're like in this weird transitionary phase. And then this comes up. And like I said, like most people would never take that risk. Like why would you all of a sudden take a risk of $10,000-$15,000 actually trying to call it one?
Well, I want to take a pause for a second because one of the things that we did was we sat with the idea of how we were going to make it happen. That night we had made this decision. I'm going to go. We're going to make this happen. Financially, we weren't sure how we were going to get there. I'm like she just said, we have investments, we have things that we can pull out of, but it was hard for us because those are things that we've set aside to prepare for our future. And we didn't want to really pull away from that. So there was a week and a half period where we did nothing, but we kept talking about the feeling of being in Miami, the feeling of winning, the feeling of being on a Mind Valley stage.
Nightly journaling, nightly meditations. We're having the conversations with the kids. We're telling the kids like, hey, your dad's going to Miami and, November this to this. And he's going to win top 5 speakers and he's going to this. And we just kept saying it over and over and over. Like, we still hadn't made any moves financially. We were just like, he's going and he's winning, and this is what's happening.
Yeah.
And that's what we did.
So a week before, I applied for a personal loan. And I decided, you know what, I'm not going to take, I'll pull out a little bit of my portfolio that I have, but I'm not going to take all of it out. And so a week before, I applied for a personal loan, and I got approved for almost the amount that I needed
Yeah.
to go.
And then he asked me, he's like, "Hey, do you think that you can?" The thing is, like, my credit history is not there. Like, Alex has applied for a lot of loans throughout the years, and we've always paid them back, credit cards, all of that. I've been the one who's like, I don't want a credit card, I don't want loans, like, I don't want anything. And I have, like, now throughout the years, like, there's a couple of credit cards I've taken out, things like that. But point is, I have never applied for a loan aside for when we had a restaurant. And even those, I think, were your name and the restaurant, it was never under my name.
Yeah.
So I don't have the history to take out large loans. And I literally get approved for the other amount that he needed to make this trip happen.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm still short this amount. And I'm like, okay, let's try this.
Yeah.
And I literally apply. And I'm like, at least I got approved. I was like, I got approved for a loan. And I was like, it's the same exact amount you need to get you there. So we did it, and then we're like, shit, like, we're gonna have to pay these loans.
So
like, hey,
we made it on borrowed money, but that's the thing. And this is not advocating for anybody that's listening.
Yeah, I'm not telling people to do this because, once again, it's you're taking a risk, right? But it's really like, for us, it was a yes right away. Like, it was just a full body yes, a full body belief. This was.
And I heard this past week at the Speaking Academy, and it's something that I've known, but it was good to actually hear it from Eric and those that have a lot of success in the world and what they're doing. They were like, manifestation is real, but the origination of where manifestation came in was that you had to get your body into this vibration and your clarity of the vision that you wanted to go, and then it required action. This world, a lot of people say, oh, I just have to speak it into existence. Like, I just have to put it out in the world, and the universe will bring it to me. Well, it requires a little bit of action. And so we knew what we wanted. I knew what I wanted, but I just had to get in the room. I had to put myself in that opportunity to get in the room. So we did this with the personal loans, and I'm so excited. I know that you were excited as well. We talked to the kids about it and going, and they were excited. And I fly into Miami, and I can tell you that even if I had not won the event, which I think I just gave the spoiler alert for those that don't follow me, but even if I had not won the event, the relationships and the connection that I created with the people that were in that room was worth every single penny.
And that's what I told Alex. I said, and we said this in the podcast that we recorded that we haven't put out. I said, look, obviously the goal here is top 5, and that's what we're going to keep speaking into existence and all this. But I was like, I'm real, I'm human. I know that there's a flip side to that coin. I was like, what about if you come back and you didn't win? And I said, look, the point is to get you into the room, to make those connections, to have access to that network, and to start putting yourself in those places of people who are already doing this, right? Because this is what we want to do. And we don't know anyone in our real life who's doing anything like this. So I was like, we have to get into those rooms where there's people already doing it, where we can learn from, of like, oh, okay, this is how you get this done. Okay, this is the path that you take for this. So I was like, look, at the end of the day, if you come back and you didn't win, like, I'm not gonna be mad. It's just the way life works, Sometimes you can't see why life throws a different route for you. And I was and we know that now. Like, we're in a place that there's very few things that happen to us that we feel a victim of, or we can't see the bright side or the lesson, or ask the right questions. So I was like, look, at the end of the day, if you come back and it didn't happen, then it wasn't meant to be, and that's okay, and move on. But I was like, I'm only saying that now. I was like, but that's it. We're done talking about it in that sense. So I was like, no,
Yeah.
we're back to, you're winning top 5. You're gonna win this, and and you're going. So I had the disclaimer, short little, disclaimer, and I was like, all right, back to the high energy. I'm like, we're not going to stay in this energy.
And I tell you, this event, it really highlighted a lot for me. I've been to men's retreats working on like emotional and personal development, like awareness and traumas that we've experienced in our life. But I didn't know how impactful this event would be in the same regard to being in men's retreats and things of that nature. Eh, When when we first day, you go up on stage. There's no training, but they make you introduce yourself. Like you introduce yourself and why you're here. Like why do you want to be here? And listening to the people that were in that room and the success that they had and the platforms they had, I had this sense of, do I belong on day one? Because like we're talking about multi-million-dollar companies, people that are thriving in their industry, have been written really successful books, have amazing podcasts, have all of these accolades. And here I am in my own right, having some accolades, but not on that level. So I had this like sense of, do I belong for the first day or two? And then it hit me that all these people, they wanted this deeper connection. They wanted to live like a heart-centered leadership. And it was truly amazing to be able to connect with these people on that level. Like not getting to know them for their title and for their business, CEOs and founders and all that other stuff, just getting to know them by their names and the people that they are. And through that process of talking and connecting and supporting and screaming and yelling and having a good time and dancing, we created this bond that was really powerful. And I've told many people before that when I was in the military, one of my most like the fulfilling time that I was in the military, I was stationed in Italy, and this is work side. Obviously, I was going through some personal side, but the work side, I was traveling around teaching leadership, teaching people how to publicly speak, facilitate classes for Navy leadership. And I enjoyed that so much because you got to connect with people on a deeper level. You got to talk with people, and that's one of the things that I love a lot is to talk.
I remember him saying, like, if I could apply to do this, you know, like, uh, like a job again, he's like, I would finish out my career just doing this job. Like, if I didn't have to go back to a ship, he's like, I really love doing this. But yeah, in Sicily, he was very fulfilled by the job he had in the Navy at the time, which that's what it was. It was traveling around, teaching in front of people, and being the front of the room.
Yeah. So getting to know these people and connecting with them, uh, I was able to, still the phones are beeping off my cell phone's going off and people are, and it's collective. They're, hey, I want you on the podcast. Hey, like do this. I'll help you do this. I'll like wanting to help me. And that made me come to this realization, like being in the Dominican Republic. And I know we've talked about it on other podcasts. I went away. It wasn't vacation by any means. It was work. Like we were working long hours, 18, 19 hours of speaking and training and connecting.
I think the whole week we spoke a total of 2 hours in small segments. And the first day was our longest conversation at 45 minutes. And then we never talked more than 10 minutes after
Yeah.
that. Like they're super short. Hey, babe, I'm brushing my teeth. I kind of run back to the conference room. And, I truly understood my role in this position, like this week, was not to ask questions, was not to make him feel like he had to connect back home, was not to be like, you need to talk to the kids. Like, none of that. I was like, I want you to go and just lock in. I was like, I want you to be so locked in that the rest of the world falls away for this week. And I was like, and that's okay. It's not forever. It's 1 week. And that's what he did. And I mean, he found moments here and there to talk to us, to talk to the kids and things like that. But, if he didn't answer me, didn't say good night, didn't say good morning, I was like, I was sad. Of course, I missed him, but I was like, I can't let him know that. I was like, I just want him to stay. I was like, I just want him to stay locked in. I was. When he came back, I told him, I was like, I was sad for days, like I didn't sleep well that whole week because I would stay up knowing that he was up. And I'm like, man, I wanted to like say goodnight, but I was like, I want to call him. Like, I want to get him out of his zone and whatever he's like, when you're alone and going through something like that, like you have your own processes and your own things that you're going through, like you have to get home and like now go through everything you just went through the day. Like, I don't know, process, whatever.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't want to get in the way of that. Like, whatever's going on at home is not important right now. Like, unless there's an emergency. But I was like, he doesn't need to know the drama, the kids fighting, what I did for my day. I'm like, he already knows he's with me every day. So it's just like, I want him locked in over there. And that's, I really held that space. But even on my end, like, it was hard. There was nights where I was like, damn, I really want a conversation with my husband. Like, I want to talk to him. There's things I want to tell him. But I was like, it's okay. It's going to be worth it at the end of this week. And it was.
Yeah, you're about to make me get emotional. Seriously. Real quick, because this is the truth. For a long time, I wanted to hear my wife. We've had our challenges, and we've voiced them here. I wanted to hear my wife say that I was her best friend. Like, yeah, there's times where you see that on movies or like people say that, and I know that there was a time in our relationship where it wasn't like that. And so this week when I got home and my wife said that, like, it really,
I told him, I said, I realized having you gone and not being able to talk to you, I was like, you're my best friend. I didn't know who to talk to, like who to call,
yeah,
and who to like process all of this with. So I was like, I was up one night just talking to ChatGPT and stuff. And I'm like, what am I doing with my life right now?
yeah. So it was, these days were long, but it was meant that way, right? Because when we're tired and we're pushing our bodies psychologically, like
I mean, it's a military tactic, right?
yeah.
Like that's what they do when you go to boot camp, right? They push you to your limits. They keep you on long hours, and they're putting you in uncomfortable situations is to break you, right? To take you to that breaking point. And it was really cool to just hear it from his side of having to go through this in a week span. But that's where the transformation happens, right? To
And I'll say, like, from my having previous experience like this, I was able to know when you go through this, especially my experience in the military, you kind of are aware of when you can recharge your battery throughout the day. So it's not like you're always on. There's just moments where you need to take a moment, collect yourself, recharge your power plant so then you can bring it outwards. Because I've mentioned this, energy is contagious. And that's one of the things that I really focused on when I was in that space was my energetic presence and giving that love and that respect and that kindness to people because that's what you want in return. Like, I mean, that's what I want in return, at least. And when I did that, that was the common theme amongst people. It was like, Alex, I don't know how you have all this energy for all these people, but it didn't feel hard because it was something that I wanted to do and I wanted to be in that environment. And any chance that I could get, if there was a long break, like an hour break, I would so I'd eat real quick and then I'd go upstairs and I'd take a bath. I'd just sit in the bath. I'm a bath guy. So like Eric,
we don't come across bathtubs.
yeah. And it's not cold enough for you to take a hot bath. So this hotel was ice cold, freezing, and I would go upstairs and I would I had used the bathroom mirror as a vision board. I wrote down, I'm going to win Speaking Academy 2025. I have what it takes to win Speaking Academy. And then I wrote down speakers that I'm going to speak on the same stage with: Tony Robbins, Jay Shetty, Eric Meads. I put Vision in there. There's some other people, but that was my like sanctuary. I would come back in and then I'd take like a 5-10 minute bath. And that helped me a lot to get into this space where I was able to show up more present, more authentic. There was some stories that I heard that really moved some things internally, as I've mentioned, being a byproduct of an affair and all the things that I've experienced in my life. Hearing some stories, I was like, damn, I didn't know it was going to hit me like that. And that's the benefit of group work like that. So it was a big energetic shift for me being able to be in that space, fill my cup, be able to source my own internal energy to be able to push it outwards and then receive it again. Which leads me to, the finals, which were the last 2 days. So the quarterfinals, semifinals, and then finals, which was the last 2 days. And the quarterfinals was on Thursday evening. And we had 3 minutes to do a speech. And they give you the tools, they train you, they help you, you get on stage, Eric gives you personal one-on-one feedback, the whole 9 yards. And I feel like I gave the best version of my story up to that point yet. And so I deliver it, everybody delivers it, and boom, it's the next day. And they release the semifinals list. So in order to get to the finals, right? Like there's a semifinals and then a finals. They had said before that there might be people that do well in the quarterfinals and they just go straight to the finals. But I had not thought about me being one of those people. And so when I did my speech and then the next day they do the semifinals list, I see my name not on the board. And I was like, I'm talking about for maybe like half a second, I was like, damn. But I was not disappointed. And that's one thing that I've talked to being a football coach and a basketball coach, and even with my kids and teaching at a school here, is energy is contagious. If I get in that negative aspect and I'm a victim and I'm upset, that's going to push out onto the people around me. And at that point, we had created a team in this event. We were all a real one big collective team. So instead of being in this damn I didn't make it, I got into this really joyous state. I started hugging people, high fiving them, like, let's go, great job, really locking into each speech and just shooting energy from my chest when they're on the stage, shooting that positive energy straight to them and clapping as hard as I could and screaming and so on and so forth. And I feel like that made a difference.
Of course. I mean, we talk to our kids, Grayson is into competitive surfing now a bit and doing things like that. And we talk to him about that all the time. Like, look, you're not always going to win, but the way you show up when you lose is what everybody's going to remember. So you have to show up in a way that you're not going to regret, because I was like, people are watching you. People are looking like, are you a great competitor? And are you a great person too? Are you a good human? Or are you that person who, when you don't win, you're angry at the world and you want to take it out on everybody, and now you're a victim and your whole life is a mess? And it's like, well, great. Losing means you have something to fix. Losing means that you have something to work on. Losing means you get another opportunity. Like, it's part of life. Failure is part of life. If you're not failing, that means you're not trying hard enough.
Yeah. So the semifinals goes well and we go off. And I just had this feeling. I'm like, man, something big's gonna happen. And I sent a message to Jisil. I said, look, I really believe something
I
big's
was
gonna
super confused because I thought, semifinals, quarter, like finals. And I was like, wait, what do you mean you didn't make it? But you think you're going to be in the final? I was like, this doesn't even make sense. And then, he had a little more time later and then he sent a longer message and he explained, he's like, well, they did like give us a caveat that there's some people who made it to the finals. They just like kept the names secret. And I was like, okay, that makes a little more sense. But still, the way they did it, I get it. They were really psychologically messing with you
Well,
guys.
no,
Like,
what
they were getting in your head.
they were preparing, and I've not been in this realm, so I can't speak on it firsthand. But Eric was saying there's times where you're at an event that you're not scheduled to speak, and a speaker doesn't show up, or their speaker gets
They were
sick,
trying
or
to make like real life scenarios of like, you may not even be on the list and then you get called and you just have to be ready.
yeah,
So I get it. And I was like, okay. And then I was like, look, like, why? Then I started doubting at that moment. I was like, wait, did we like mess this up and he's not? And I was like, no, no, no. Like, we're not going. And that's when I changed my mindset too. I was like, no, we're not going down this road. I was like, he's winning this, which by the way, the whole week, sometimes 2 or 3 times a day, I was doing a Bob Proctor meditation through Mind Valley. It's called the Abundance Meditation. It's also on YouTube. If you want to look it up, it's 20 minutes. I love doing it in the morning, but that was something I started doing 3 weeks ago when we started talking about this. I started doing it consistently, like every day, every day, every day. And I still do it. I'm still doing it. Like, I want to go for see how long it fits into my routine. But just that meditation just takes you into the like there's never lack anywhere at any point. Like, there's abundance everywhere, all around us, all the
yeah,
time. And I just kept sinking into that and remembering that meditation of like, that's right. There's abundance everywhere all the time. Like, there is no lack. And I was like, well, Friday's gonna be the day that
yeah. So I go on the like I said, I told Jisil, hey, I feel like something big's gonna happen, and we had an hour and a half, I think, an hour and a half or 2 hours to till finals. And I was like, I just felt this anxious energy, like this nervous energy, but in a good way. Like I got to do something. And I haven't ran in a minute. So I'm like, I want to go on a jog. And I just start jogging, and jogging felt easy. I was like in this high vibration, and I was screaming on the streets. Like, I don't know if people were looking at me, but I was screaming on the streets. First I was singing with the songs, but I was like, I'm going to win Speaking Academy. Like, I was making sounds. I'm screaming on the streets. And, I was like, this is the beginning of something huge. And then I get back to the hotel. I run upstairs. I was in like a dilemma too. I didn't tell you. No, I didn't. So now you're hearing it. But I was in this dilemma because I was like, man, should I wear this outfit, or should I wear this outfit that I had worn for my TED Talk, the exact same TED Talk, which we'll talk about in a future podcast. But for some reason, I went with the exact same TED Talk outfit. I ironed the shirt because I had not ironed the shirt at all. And the pants, like, they were all wrinkly. So I had
Let's
to
just
iron.
be real. Two things happen. One, you would have to go shopping for yourself. And reality is you did not have the time from arrival to checking in to starting the program to go shopping. And we live in a place where nobody, like, well, we don't go anywhere where you need to dress up nice. So he just did not have that in his closet. And then his only opportunity would be in the States to go buy it. And he didn't. So it's
Yeah.
like, well, we're the same outfit you wore for your TEDx.
Yeah. I mean, it came out, it looked good. I think it actually looked better than when I was wearing the TEDx, just because of I could move around on the stage, where the TEDx, it's here nor there. But anyways, so I get on, I get there, we walk into the room, they build some excitement. And as soon as I saw, he's like, okay, and the lists for this.
So this is live streaming.
Live streaming.
We got to see the live stream. So we're at home. I have all the kids. They've been asking the whole day. They know it's coming. We sent Daddy a little morning motivation video. We're like, Daddy's gonna what? I don't even know what we were saying, but we were cheering him on. And then Grayson comes through and he's like, you're winning top 5 speakers, Daddy.
Yeah.
And we sent it to him nice and early. And I was like, all right, like, no communication. Like, I just want him locked in.
All day, nothing. I didn't respond to her either because I didn't get it. Like, my phone was on airplane mode a lot of times.
His phone was on airplane mode more often than not. I was like, he'll get it at the right time. But I was like, I'm not sending him anything else the rest of the day. Like, I just want him locked into this. So we log on like 20 minutes before the event starts. And when 7 o'clock hits, the kids started doing like a 10-second timer. They're like, 10, 9, 8. And they're like, what happened, Mom? The event came on like 9 minutes after 7. But I told him, I was like, hey, when these events are happening, sometimes it takes a little longer for them to set it up and get it actually live streamed.
No.
They have this really cool video where they're showing the entire week of everybody in their workshops and their circles. And every time the kids saw Alex, they screamed. They just went wild. They're like, Daddy! Daddy! And it was so cute and adorable. So finally, everything gets started.
Well, that video was dope. Real quick, yeah. I'm not going to cut you off, but that video was dope. I didn't, when I saw it, I was like, man, I need to get a copy of this video.
Yeah, I thought the same thing. It's a really cool video. And then, the event gets started. They're talking. They explain the rules, how everything's going to go. And then it comes the moment of them posting the list. And still to this moment, we have no idea if Alex has made it to the finals or not. Like, we don't know. We don't know that. And the list pops on, and I think one kid was like in disbelief. I think he asked me, like, is that my daddy? Like, they saw the name Alex. They just didn't, they're like, is that? And I was like, I'm pretty sure he's the only Alex. So I was like, yeah. And then I was recording the whole thing, and I didn't know if his name would pop up or not, but I was like, I want to record this moment. And like, when the kids is like sunk in, they just go crazy. They're like, Daddy made it.
Yeah.
And I was laughing. I couldn't stop laughing. I was just so happy, like, and joyful. And I was like, I can only imagine how he's feeling, on the other side, just seeing his name up on the screen.
Yeah, I saw my name, and I was already locked in, that I was prepared. I knew how I was going to, it's called speech mapping, how I was going to map my speech, try to bring a little bit of humor into it, because it's a heavy topic what I was talking about. So I knew where I was going with it. And as soon as I saw my name, I knew it. Just in my head, it was like game time. And I've been a competitor for a long time. I mean, I love sports. I love coaching sports. I love playing sports. I love watching sports. So being in a competitive environment, it really just, there's something that changes in you. Have you never done it? I can't tell you. Like, it's just something inside of you. So I see my name and I'm like, okay, it's game time. I made it. No worries. No more. This is the shot. And so I just get ready, and my mind just kept visualizing. I kept visualizing how it was going to go. I mean, I knew what I was going to do when I walked on the stage. I wasn't going to stay on top of the stage because for me, I'm not going to say I'm 100% uncomfortable because I can stand on a stage and talk, but I feel more comfortable being with the audience. So I knew immediately my goal, get to the audience and then let's go. And that's what I did. I got on stage. Well, first of all, I want to say something. They talked in the week of they used an example of Eric. He said he went to an event and the promoter of the event had basically was sharing a story about Eric and how him and Tony Robbins had worked together, and there was some mix up in the intro, and that was actually Eric's first story. Like it was his first story he was going to use in his talk, and he got completely thrown off on that, and he had to like switch it up like right before going on stage. And so going on to watching the how the breakdown was, and I knew what experiences they had gone through, but it didn't trigger in my head. Two of the speakers, they had also lost a child, and one of them spoke right before me. And so I looked over at the producer of the event and I chuckled and said, "You guys are just giving me a bunch of mind games to play with." Because I thought I was going to need to switch my speech a little bit on the go. And she's like, "What do you mean?" And I referenced what I just told you, and she was like, "No. That was we didn't even catch that either. We have to actually go to make some changes real quick." And so they had to make some changes because they had three of us, the three people that won the event, were all speaking back to back to back originally, and all speaking about the death of a child. So they had to go do mic drop moments and put people in. That they had to do what they do.
Yeah, they switched up the lineup, and I just kids, they were like, "Daddy sings. Why is Daddy not talking?
Yeah.
Why are they not?" They just kept waiting and anticipating and anticipating. And they're like, "Daddy," and Lumi was almost in tears. She's like, "Daddy's not gonna talk," and I was like, "No, yeah, he is." I said, I was like, they're switching up the event. They're adding some, I was like, they're keeping the speakers on their toes. And I was like, he's going to speak. I was like, he's going to come into the line. I was like, just, we have to be patient.
And that's that is another real life situation Eric talks about that could possibly happen to you where you think you're going on and they need more time or so on and so forth. So you always just have to be mentally prepared to go on stage. So I was just ready. I just stood back there. I stood in the back of the room because I was breathing, doing some breathing exercises and just envisioning. I kept having this visualization. It didn't quite play out the way that I visualized it, but I kept visualizing in the winner of Speaking Academy Miami. And it kept going in my mind, and then me visualize myself looking at the audience and them just standing up and screaming and stuff like that. So I'd visualize that. And when I get in there, like I said, I knew that I needed to get to the state. I needed to get to the floor. And I've talked about Liam's death a lot, but I had never gone into the detail of his passing, like that moment, that scene, like I did on the stage this week, practicing and talking through it. And that's the therapeutic process. The reality is I have this connection to his passing and staying with it. And there's more things that I have not talked about to this point because time constraints and things of that nature. But I didn't know how much more healing I needed in that environment. And so working through the whole speech and
Do you want
talking.
to talk about your bathroom moment
What do you mean?
when you had to leave the the conference room? It was before the
Oh
finals. It
yeah,
was like a few days before the finals. A couple of days.
yeah. I'll come back to that in a second. But I there were just a lot of things that the details, the fine details, playing it back in my mind. It took me there. And one thing that I've learned in this last 9 months, we're coming up on 9 months in 2 days, is emotions. They come from the past or something from the future. And when you're replaying these stories, you leave from the present moment. you leave where you're at in the now and you go to the past. And that's where the emotion comes up. So every time that I went back to that place and I was thinking about the feelings and the thoughts and everything that I was processing at that time, I was being overwhelmed with emotions. Other people were sharing their same experiences. Now I'll go into it. Other people were sharing their same experiences in their stories, and there's so many similarities with me and other people. Obviously, I didn't just lose a child. My mom was a drug addict. My dad was an alcoholic. My daughter was diagnosed with a brain tumor. I have brain tumors. I lost my job. My wife asked for a divorce. She had an abortion. There's a lot there. I mean, I could even say more. But every time I heard a story that had a piece of my own life that I didn't have that awareness around, I started getting emotional. And one of them, we were talking about this sense of belonging and this rejection, being rejected by our parents as kids. I don't know why that. I don't know how Liam got tied into this, but I started getting really emotional and getting overwhelmed. And so I walked out and I started thinking about Liam, and I just started crying hard. I went to the bathroom and I started crying. Like, I'm talking about sobbing, crying in the bathroom. And I give myself a few minutes in the bathroom crying. I kneeled down, like I squatted down in the corner of the bathroom and just like was bawling and crying. And then I came out and the producer of the event and a woman saw me. They could obviously see I was crying and they were just talking to me like, what's going on internally? Like, how can we help? And I was just talking them through my process and things of that nature. And I get back into, after they talk to me, I get back into the room and I look down at my watch and it's 2:22. And that made me even more emotional because the signs that I see with Liam, like communicating with me, is through twos,
Yeah.
222,
If you
22.
listen to Liam's podcast, we talk about uh, the connection with the twos, um, and how that has been a way that Liam speaks to Alex is 22, 222. And it's crazy because we won't talk about it or see it for weeks. And then he's at this event and he's like, just so as soon as I sat down, I look at my watch and it's like, I see the twos.
Well, yeah. I forgot to mention the other part is when I went to run to the bathroom to cry, what made it even more was on the door, the exit door at the very bottom, it was a big two. And I had not noticed it at all that whole time, but I walked around the corner and it caught my eye. And that's what messed me up. And then after talking with them, I looked at my watch and went 222. And then I had run upstairs after the event was, we broke for the day. And I didn't quite, once again, didn't catch it, but the floor we were on was the second floor, and there's three elevators, and at the same time, I saw 222 on the elevator doors, and I was just like, "This is crazy. This
Yeah,
is absolutely."
we're reading there's a book that we read signs is about the signs that people leave when they cross over. And we talked about it, we referenced it was on Liam's podcast. But, for Alex, it's these twos, and I was like, to see that after a moment like that, like, it spoke volumes to us. I was like, it's not coincidental. I don't believe, at least, in coincidences, like, this is a sign. I'm like, he's literally talking to you, like, he's screaming at you at this point
Yeah.
because it was just so many twos. I was like, wow, like, and that same day, my sister that morning texted me that she had a dream about Liam. And, she does not I don't remember the last time she sent me a message saying that. Like, it's been months. And she literally woke up the day that was the first thing I saw in my messages was like, I just had this really, and she's like, it was a really long dream with Liam. Like, we were playing, they always had these conversations, like, he would babble and talk, and she would talk to him. And she was like, it was one of my favorite things with him to have these conversations because she's like, he couldn't obviously like talk like a regular kid, but she's like, it's like he knew everything I was telling him and he was answering and replying. And I remember like witnessing these conversations. It was so cute. She would just carry him around, show him out the window and start talking, and he's like responding. And for me as well, I was doing a meditation and I saw the lights again that I saw the night that like the night before he passed away. I had seen these lights, and during my meditation, it was the first time in almost 9 months that I saw those lights again. So then when he tells me this, I was like, Liam's Liam's like in a realm again, like big time
He's
because
near us.
yeah, because the fact that something like that happens to him, to me, to my sister, I was like, he's making his rounds. I was like, something big is happening, like he's here. And we felt his presence. And then I had a really emotional day that day. Like I couldn't stop crying throughout the day. I have not cried in public because of Liam. And I was sitting down waiting for some food, and I like my tears. I wasn't like sobbing or crying; like the tears just kept coming out and kept coming out. And I was like, "Okay, Liam, like thanks, but I really don't want to cry in public right now." Like I was like, "Please." I was like, there's things I have to do, and I can't just be stuck at home right now. But I'm sitting there and I couldn't stop crying. And you know, it's it was, a cry, like, I miss him and things, and at the same time, my heart was just filled with so much gratitude because I knew he was talking to all of us in that moment.
Yeah,
That was, like, midweek, literally, I think on Wednesday before,
just
know,
because people can talk. Um, I tell people this week too is like just because I can talk about it doesn't mean that I'm
over it,
over it.
and
Yeah.
it doesn't hurt. Yeah.
And there's moments you find yourself like this. Like right now, I feel like a lot of emotion that's gonna come up, and that makes me realize that that's I'm on the path that I need to be, and I need to be talking about this, and I need to be helping people talk about their own pain and their own traumas to help them live a life of purpose. So many people are just going through life nonchalant, following the norm, and over and over doing the same thing over and over, and they hate it. They're not happy. They're not thriving. And that was us. That was how we lived for a long time, and then until we opened our hearts and we started to talk and to connect with people and share, we didn't we it opened our eyes that there isn't such a there's so much more to life than just being in that monotony role of working and kids and blah 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 and just do it over and over and over again. So when I knew that I gave the speech, and I feel like it went really, really well. They come back, and he's like, "And from team 2 and team 2," and I knew, I mean, that wasn't me. So I'm like, "Man, just give me 3rd place at first." I'm
Okay,
like,
so you missed out one little part. So there was a voting online. So we don't know how many people were logged into this live stream. I don't know. But they during this live stream, then they put up a QR code or a link, and the audience can go vote for their favorite speakers. So we told some friends and family about it. I don't feel like I told more than like 20 people, if that,
yeah,
at like through my phone. And then I also put it on social media. I don't know how many people actually signed up or how many people tweeted. And there was a few people who told me they did, but it wasn't we don't know hundreds of people. Let's
yeah,
just put it that way. So I was just like, well, I hope he wins. Like we'll get as many votes as we can, and you can only vote once from each browser. So I was like, get whatever computer, phone, and vote for him, and we did it, and we voted. But yeah, then they come. You can then go back to the
yeah.
announcing the winners.
So they announced the winners, and for me, I was like, I just need to be top 5. That was the mission. That was the goal.
Yeah.
I just need to be top 5.
I remember thinking like I was expecting to hear his name when they called 3rd place.
And I
And I
thought,
didn't know what team he was on, so I didn't know. I was
and,
like, when they
yeah,
said team 2, I was like, "Oh, is that Alex?"
and I thought that they were going to name the top 5 because they said the top 5 are going to speak at the Mind Valley, which we'll get into here after this. So they say, and in 3rd place from team 2, and I was like, oh shit, that wasn't me. I knew him right away because I'm not on team 2.
See, I didn't. I was still sitting at home like, I don't know what team he's
Yeah.
on. Who's winning?
And then they say in 2nd place from team 2, and I'm like, damn. Well, hopefully I'm 5 or 4, like because
Yeah.
now I'm not 3 or 2. Hopefully I'm 5 or 4.
And I was thinking the same thing. I was like, well, they said top 5 speakers, and they just called 3rd and 2nd. So I'm like, well, we still got 4th and 5th. But I was like, 1st? I was like, really?
And then they say, and all the way from team 4, And this is where I was on the edge of my seat because like I'm on team 4, but there was 4 other speakers in the finals that were on team 4. And I had just gone through them in my head quickly. I'm like, okay, boom, boom, boom. That was a good one. That was a real good one. Oh man. And then they said my name and I just looked down and I was like,
When
man,
they said his name, the kids erupted. Like it went wild in here. Lenovo was actually asleep by this point. This
uh,
event was like 3.5 hours. She did not last the entire event. And she's
and
just
Linabelle's my
screaming.
biggest supporter.
Yeah. She couldn't make it. She couldn't hack it. She had too much fun. She's like, this is really late at night for us. It's like 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. We're usually in bed by like 8 or 9. She's covering her eyes. And her brothers and sisters are just screaming, jumping up and down. And Grayson reaches to Grayson. He's like, wait, what happened?
What does that mean?
What does that mean? So Grayson, your dad won first place. He's like, what? Grayson, it takes him like 2 minutes to process everything that's going on. And I'm like, Grayson, he won. He won first. He's like, and it's funny because he was already jumping and screaming, but then like it took him a moment
Yeah,
to
he's like,
realize.
I'm just screaming because my dad's name was called.
Yeah, and then when he told me, he like erupted into a second, like,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah,
I was laughing so hard because I was like, this.
yeah. So I ran up on stage. I gave third place and second place a hug because their stories, like I told you, they lost kids as well. And I just told them that congratulations, their stories were amazing and so grateful for them. And Eric, yeah, he told me throughout the week a few times, he's like, you got a powerful story and that your delivery and your presence, you're gonna do really well in this industry. And that's the thing that I tell you is I went into this with this feeling that I didn't belong. And that's how powerful the inner critic can be if you give it a place and a space. I haven't applied for speaking gigs or I haven't gone out and try to publicize because I didn't believe that I belonged for a long time. And to be in a room full of keynote speakers, people that have spoke with Tony Robbins, people that have spoke with Jay Shetty, people that have spoke at the United Nations General Assembly, people that spoke this guy's card that I'm looking at right now to the president of Scotland, like people that have been in rooms with very influential people in this world coming to me and telling me, you're made for this. This is your destiny. A woman said, I don't see you in stages. I see you on stadiums. And that hit me because for a long time, I've had this inner critic or this voice that says, you're not enough. So I say that wholeheartedly because that was the feeling going into this. And even going through the process, I'm like, man, I'm not enough. Like, I'm not going to be able to do this. But I always would reframe, come back and say, Alex, these people are telling you otherwise. Just take it, allow it, just say thank you. And that's the big transformation piece for me. It's not even winning the event. It's being able to get in my, like to see my own thoughts about myself and then hear other people and say, something's going on internally that you got to correct. So I sit here and tell you that I won first place in the speaking academy, and the top 5 speakers, they get to speak in Mind Valley. And after the fact, I see Vishen, who we've followed for years now, and it's like, oh man, you see people on internet and the work they're doing. You see them in real life. You want to go up and talk to them, and I go up and talk to him, and he's like, oh, you're the one that won. And he just talked about how powerful my story was and telling it. And he gets on his phone and he records a video of me and him and telling his team at Mind Valley that this guy's going to be on the main stage in Mind Valley. And hearing that, it was just like,
And he doesn't tell me that till like after he
yeah,
arrives here on Saturday. And I'm like, oh, you missed a big celebratory announcement there. I'm here like just sitting at home, like waiting to hear, how his night went. We spoke for about 5 or 10 minutes like after the event, after he won. But I was like, I know everybody wants to talk to you, and everybody's gonna want to, mingle. So I was like, just get back to. He came out of the hotel for like 10 minutes. We were actually on a group call with some friends, and I was like, just get back to your thing. And I was like, tomorrow you'll be here, and I'll hear it all. Because I was like, I know how these things go, and I was like, that's where you need to be right now. So
Yeah.
We'll celebrate once
And there was other Mind Valley speakers. I didn't know this at the time, but there's other Mind Valley speakers that were in that speaking academy that came up to me and said, "Hey, you're going to be doing some big things here soon." And that's I just want to help people. At the end of the day, like that's my goal is just to be able to help people. And it's not about me. It's not even about Liam, right? It's about being able to use what we've gone through in our own personal lives to help propel people forward in what they're going through because we all can relate uh, on the humanistic level of pain and trauma and stuff that's going through in our lives. And
and not letting that be a crutch, like not letting that be the end of all. There's still people that we talk to and that we know or that we've heard of, like, my child died 5 years ago. I'm still destroyed by it. I don't know how to move forward. I'm not doing this. I'm not, and it's hard to hear that because it's not meant to do that to you.
yeah.
Like in a sense, yes, it's gonna take you down, it's gonna crumble you, but it's meant to give you the strength to build yourself up again and not stay in that place.
And you can't see what I'm looking at right now, but like I had done recently a vision board, but in a list task format, and a lot of it is about public speaking. It's about writing a book. It's about
For those of you who see the YouTube, you'll get a glimpse.
it's about writing a book. It's speaking multiple books, not just one book. But there's things that I want to do in my life to help people, and I just put it on the wall. I have no clue.
And the first time we ever put Mind Valley on our vision board was actually in 2023 after we moved here to Dominican Republic. It was actually no, I did it in 2022 because I
Yeah,
brought that
yeah,
vision
no,
board
yeah.
with me. So I actually did Marie Diamond's course, who I also came to know about her through the Mind Valley platform. And she's a feng shui teacher, and she teaches how to do the vision board according to what she knows in feng shui. So it was like, get this gold ribbon and split your vision board into this many pieces, and it's like a circle with all these lines through it, and then like picking certain colors for the categories according to what they are. And in the category, I think it's like the career category, I specifically had put a Mind Valley thing in there, and also like New York's top,
New York Times bestseller.
yeah, New York Times bestseller, like, book, basically, like, for writing, and for Mind Valley, like being on the stage, not just attending, but like being part of the events. Like that was the vision when I put it on my vision
Yeah.
board. That
And
was
even
at
in our
the
life books too. Like I
yes,
have it in my life book of everything she's saying. I have it in my life book as well.
that was the end of 2022, and then I brought that vision board with us here to Dominican Republic, and I had put it up in our office for a long time. Then I think it got wet and ruined, and I just threw it away. He's like, "Why are you throwing it away?" And I was like, "It got all messed up."
Yeah.
But it was on there. That was, I think, one of the last vision boards I made in that way.
Yeah.
But
So I
here's
have
some.
this nice trophy that says Paradigm X Top Speaker, Speaking Academy, Miami, USA. And then it has a
It actually looks right this way.
oh, does it? Oh,
Yeah.
you are so amazing. And then it has the Mind Valley logo on it. And I've always wanted to attend a Mind Valley
Yeah. So
event.
it's for sure now that we're going to Mount Valley University 2026. It's in Estonia, July 20th through August 2nd. And
Speaking in front of not hundreds, but thousands of people.
yeah, and our plan is to be traveling Europe for a few weeks, and yeah, making it to Naples after all for what would have been Liam's third birthday.
Yeah.
So Naples is where we celebrated his first and only birthday, and I think it's appropriate to be back there for that.
We'll go bowling and swim in the pool.
Yeah, we were on the naval station that's out there, and we took him swimming, which he loved. He had so much fun. And although he didn't really know how to bowl, he loved the bowling lanes and like pushing the
We'll
balls
push the
around.
balls around.
Like he loved. We went through so many times with the kids, and Liam like really. So when we were like, "What do we do for his birthday?" And we're like, "Well, he kind of loves being in the pool and bowling with us." So we took him bowling. He did. He had a great day. He was like such a good mood. We had a great time. Um, and yeah, it was Liam's first birthday. So
Do you have anything else?
I don't think I do.
That was our last few weeks. that is the last week. I hope that you enjoyed it and continue to stay along for the ride. We'll continue to document this journey in different aspects. If there's something that you're interested in us talking about, please don't forget to send it and give us feedback. And until next time.